12th edition of the Planning Commission. I'm your chair, Steph Routh, and with me, I think, is all of us who are here. Ruben, Commissioner Alvarado is unable to join us, but we have Commissioner Brannon, Vice Chair Spivak, Commissioner O'Mara, Commissioner Knowles, myself, Commissioner Thompson, Vice Chair Pollack, and Commissioner Ames. Today, we are going to be doing Columbia Corridor and Industrial Lands Environmental Overlay Zone Project, or the CCIL, as we like to call it, and also the Economic Opportunities Analysis. We're looking to do amendments and hopefully, potentially, we'd like to a vote on both things. So before we proceed with that, any items of interest from commissioners? Okay, then how about let's proceed to Chief Planner Diefendorfer for the director's report.
Good afternoon, commissioners, chair, vice chairs, commissioners. Thank you so much. Patricia Diefendorfer for the record. Very excited to be here today for these this moment with these two big projects. Just a few really quick announcements. I have been updating you periodically about a few of these things. So the Community Involvement Committee, as you know, many of the vacancies were filled recently. The council appointed a number of commissioners to that committee, or as committee members, I should say, to that committee. There was a request on the part of council to do another recruitment to fill another position with ideally looking for District 1 volunteers. And so that recruitment process is open now. And they're through May 31st. The details are on the City of Portland's job page where these bulletins are listed. And so they are actively looking to try to make sure that there's representation from District 1 on that committee. So that's the update on the Community Involvement Committee. I have updated this the commission previously on a December 2025 City Council resolution that asked the city administrator to prepare a report related to design review and to identify some recommendations for reforms for the design review process. Just wanted to update the commission to know that that report has been finalized. It's kind of being shared it's being shared amongst city leadership. And the expectation is that it will be published on the BPS website later this week. So we just wanted to apprise you of that development, and I can certainly tell you more. I won't want to take up too much time right now. I can certainly tell you more about that if you are interested. But there's about 8 recommendations, temporary and long-term, and they are all very well fleshed out in the report. Also, you all know about on April 15th, so last month, City Council adopted another resolution directing the city administrator to develop an accelerated timeline for the Inner East Side Area Planning Project, and for us to provide a number of other kind of additional information about approaches to that planning process. So that is another opportunity for the Bureau to prepare a report in response to the council resolution, and additional information will be forthcoming on that. We have a 90-day timeline to respond to the resolution and to develop a report that responds to that resolution. So we'll keep you up to date on that. We are the lead bureau, and there are infrastructure bureaus that are our partners, particularly PBOT and the Bureau of Environmental Services, who are assisting us with that. And then finally, we had circulated to all of you for your feedback a draft of the BPS strategic plan. You may recall that was probably a month or more ago. In fact, the deadline for that feedback for external partners has been extended to May 18th. So there's no final document yet. And you are, of course, welcome to, I think we got feedback from the officers that there was generally a feeling that the strategic plan priorities for the next 3 years were in line with kind of priorities of the commission. But if you happen to have any other feedback, there is a little bit more time to provide that. May 18th is that new deadline. So I think that concludes my updates. Happy to answer any questions and also happy to turn it back to you, Chair Ralph.
All right, questions? Yeah.
Thanks. I get these emails once in a while of the upcoming work projects. Probably a lot of people get those emails. And I just was going to, this is probably not the ideal forum, but to request that maybe on the next one, there's a project coming up called the Housing Bonus Alignment Project. No, sorry, the state, I said the wrong name. The State Land Use Compliance Project, which is a really boring name.
Yes.
But it's a one meeting, one and done meeting for us.
Yep.
But I'm hoping that can be highlighted in one of these emails because it is going to change the rules for what you can do on residential lots. You can do attached cottages up before and detached plexes required by state law. And is within the time frame where builders are looking what they can do and they're not going to be submitting building permits until after January 1st. So it's one of those really boring projects that I think that the development community should hear about because they're on the time frame of making decisions that will be impacted by, people are looking forward to this project. I guess I'm saying that. But few people know about it. That's a long way of me saying that. Let's just include that in the next update. That'd be awesome.
Okay, I can include something about that, and that is on the calendar. I'm looking at Autumn.
In June.
I don't know if she can help me sometime in June, because as you said, we're working with a state deadline that requires that we get the code updated by January 1st of 2027. So that's why this project is boring. It's a compliance project. I'm sure there are, people who are looking forward to it, but we are doing it on an expedited timeline for that reason. June 23rd is the date that will be coming to Planning Commission. And given, that there isn't a ton of discretion involved in that package, that's why we were expecting that we could probably have one meeting to have that recommendation from you. But happy to provide more information. Thanks.
Other questions? Thoughts? Okay. Coming from that, we have our consent agenda, which is composed entirely of our meeting minutes from April 28th with some brave soul. Like to motion? Yes. Love it. Commissioner Brannon, do we have a second? Commissioner Ames, I feel like an auctioneer going once. All in favor? Show of hands. All right. And we're off. Thank you to Columbia Corridor and Industrial Lands Environmental Overlay Zone. Before we begin, anyone have any disclosures for this particular project? Yes, Commissioner Thompson.
I would like to disclose a potential conflict of interest in that I am an employee of and shareholder of an architecture firm that has done work with the Port of Portland previously and plans to pursue future work.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I suppose I have that similar disclosure, but I'm not a shareholder in and currently do not work with the Port of Portland, but I have. Probably will in the future.
Okay, great, thank you. Noted. Anyone else? Okay. Jeff Cottle, Daniel Subbing, thank you very much for being here. Please take us away.
Thanks for having us again. So yeah, for the record, I'm Jeff Cottle. I use he, him pronouns, and I manage the River Environmental Team at the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability.
Daniel Sobing, Environmental Planner, Bureau of Planning and Sustainability, also he, him pronouns.
Do you want to share?
It's coming up.
So we are here for the fourth work session. Just to start off, just want to thank you for, I'm sure, all of your work that involved looking over tedious documents of, individual sites and all of our process in terms of determinations on the amendments, the staff recommended amendments that we had. And we are really happy to be here and appreciate all of your work thus far and happy to be close to a recommendation, hopefully. So today, we're going to keep this relatively quick, I think. Really do a quick review of our past work sessions. Not everyone was at every meeting, I don't think, but so just a quick review of what we have there. And then really, we had no modifications to or requests for additional amendments based on our previous work sessions and our staff recommendations that we've provided through the previous work sessions. So we provided you with a memo that breaks down those different amendment, kind of puts them in packages, groupings of the amendments that we recommended and you all seemed open to in our past work sessions. So we will go through that and have discussions and some votes on each of those, and then we will move to the vote on the full package and then talk about the transmittal letter. So just as a reminder, this is what our ultimate proposal is, and we've come back to this a number of times, but really what you're doing is obviously recommending the Columbia Corridor Industrial Land Use Zone project to City Council. And that would be incorporating whatever amendments we make today. And then there are other components about, as we've talked about in the past, with the replacement of the natural resource management plans that currently apply in the corridor. The modifications to the environmental zones are an amendment to the official zoning map. And then we had some minor modifications to the natural resource inventory document, and then some specific zoning code changes in those chapters there, the environmental zones and the Columbia South Shore Land District. Do we need to wait? And some tree-related changes as well.
Autumn is not a big deal. It's strange.
Sorry, thank you, Jeff. And so,
Sorry,
okay,
I'll just pay attention
oh, okay.
for that.
Well, we can at least start with just the review of our work sessions. How about that? And hopefully by then you'll be able to look forward instead of backwards. So just a reminder, this is the area that the Columbia Corridor Industrial Land Use Zone project addresses. Mostly, as you can see there, the large majority of the land is within the Columbia Corridor, so between the Columbia Slough and the Columbia River, with some other miscellaneous properties that were largely just adjacent to industrial lands. And so the project itself, as we've said multiple times, the fundamental question that's what we're really working out here in this project is what are the environmental overlay zones going to be in the corridor moving forward? In addition, there's a handful of zoning code updates, as we talked about. There's those natural resource management documents, and then we have been continually coordinating with the economic opportunities analysis to make sure that these changes are incorporated into the EOA in terms of land capacity to meet our requirements for Goal 9. So this is just a layout of, as you all remember from our briefing all the way back in December till today, the testimony that we received, which was through February 3rd, if I remember correctly, after our public hearing on January 13th. We had 32 individuals testify orally and 84 pieces of written testimony. So we're just going to quickly review, and again, these are the different packages that we had for the zoning code, for the amendment, each of the amendment packages 1 through 4 there. And that was how the memo that we provided you was structured. So the first collection was, there were a few relatively minor changes to the zoning code itself that included, and these were response to testimony, so the new exemption for replacement of existing manufactured homes, a clarification that per the FEMA biological opinion, the requirements that we are adding to the environmental overlay zone code that require additional habitat mitigation do not apply to the river-dependent river-related uses. And then there was some, again, in response to testimony related to marine industrial uses and the river-dependent industrial uses, specifically meaning color, temperature, exterior lighting requirements that we are updating, just making some modifications to that so that it was consistent with the types of lighting that river industrial uses install. I think we stopped there. And if there's any questions about those zoning, any additional remaining questions, it's been a few work sessions since we talked about those zoning code amendments, but that's the first package that was in our memo.
Questions? Thoughts? Okay. Would anyone like to recommend this amendment package? Great. Commissioner Knowles, thank you.
So
May I
what
get a
we're
second?
waiting for?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
May I get a second?
Second.
Sorry, Commissioner O'Mara, you're just gonna, next time. Great, so it's been seconded. Discussion? Thoughts? I'm sorry.
Just, no, it's the, do I need to do anything other than say I'm moving the staff recommended
Amendment package 1.
Is that correct?
That's correct, just as long as it's clear on the record which package we're talking about. It's all in the documentation per the PowerPoint and the memo.
Discussion? Okay, let's call the roll.
This is the vote for CCIL Amendment Package 1. Commissioner Ames?
Yes.
Commissioner Brannan?
Yes.
Commissioner Knowles?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Mara?
Yes.
Vice Chair Pollock?
Yes.
Commissioner Spivak?
Yes?
Commissioner Thompson?
Aye.
And Chair Routh.
Aye.
The amendment passes unanimously with 8 votes.
Great.
Okay, so the second amendment package, again, which we reviewed a few work sessions ago, was those mapping amendments. So actually, again, the environmental overlay zone amendments specifically that applied to multiple sites. So there was one for resource sites CC7 and CC8, which is generally the East Columbia neighborhood, moving from the proposed draft 50-foot protection zone buffer to a 25-foot protection zone buffer around wetlands and water bodies, and then a conservation zone application between 25 and 50 feet. The second bullet there is on the Port of Portland sites, we identified that there was an issue with our model that wasn't applying the protection zone within 50 feet of streams, specifically in the Port of Portland, on the Port of Portland sites. So that remedies that issue. So that would shift, I think it was 9 acres going from conservation zone to protection zone. And then as a part of testimony and really a site visit for properties that are located on Marine Drive, we recognized that the levee needed to be shifted a little bit. We had assumed that Marine Drive was the levee, and in fact, the houses are built at a spot, I think at the peak, at the highest portion of the levee. And so we adjusted that location of the levee, and then moving that location of the levee moves and basically deletes the conservation zone landward of that levee, because most of the conservation zone there was applied because of the riparian buffer area, and the FEMA biological opinion requirements don't apply behind levees. And so we have applied that everywhere, but because of that shift, then you remove some of the conservation zone that was proposed for those sites.
Given that this amendment includes some specific Port of Portland sites, I would feel most comfortable stepping away, and I apologize, Chair Routh, for not coordinating this with you in advance. Hopefully it doesn't introduce too many hiccups, but looking at it, it seems like packages 2 through 4 include proposed amendments that relate specifically to individual Port of Portland sites, and if that is the case, I would feel most comfortable excusing myself momentarily. That would be lovely. Thank you.
We'll miss you when you're gone. Thank Thank you. Would anyone like to motion?
I move that we approve Amendment Package 2, mapping amendments for multiple sites.
Seconded.
Lovely. Okay. Any discussion? Other piece? Okay, let's call the roll.
This is the vote for Amendment Package 2. Commissioner Ames.
Aye.
Commissioner Brannon.
Aye.
Commissioner Knowles.
Yes.
Commissioner O'Mara.
Yes.
Vice Chair Pollock.
Yes.
Vice Chair Spivak.
Yes.
And Chair Routh.
Aye.
The amendment passes with 7 votes.
Love it. Thank you. Onward.
Okay, so the next package, we just grouped these together. It's essentially the whole list of our site-specific mapping amendments as we've gone through. We went through those previously in the memos from the April 14th and the 28th work sessions. So it's a total of 29 sites. We do have a note that one of the sites that were identified previously, and it was in the memo as well for you, in the Willamette Escarpment area, after reevaluating that site, it was the one, and we can go to the next slide. So we're on North Overlook Terrace, and really in response to some of the issues raised by Vice Chair Spivak, and looking at sort of where we had proposed to make some modifications to either fill in the E-zone where there were holes, or in this case, we had been working with the property owner through a site visit and thought that the best situation would be to expand the conservation zone to the entire site to give them more flexibility. After looking at what the proposed draft E-zones, where they were located, we actually determined that we actually think it gives them more area to be able to utilize standards if we do not make that amendment. So in the memo, we have removed that proposed application and expansion of the conservation zone. It actually roughly, slightly under doubles the amount of area that would be available through the area that is not covered by the C-zone. And on the right, you can see the transition area, as we've talked about many times. It actually gives them more area within those two combined to be able to still pursue approval through standards rather than having to go through land use review. So we recommend that we don't make that previously recommended change, but all the other site-specific recommendations stay the same.
I'll make a motion for this since I created the kerfuffle.
It wasn't a kerfuffle. I think it was good, and it
Hopefully
allowed us
helpful.
to take a look.
And we're not pursuing the code approach to this. We're doing it site by site, which is fine.
I think so.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's the best way for us to do that.
Seconded.
Okay. Any discussion? Thoughts, comments? Okay, let us call the roll on Amendment Package 3.
This is the vote for Amendment Package 3. Commissioner Ames.
Aye.
Commissioner Brannon.
Yes.
Commissioner Knowles.
Yes.
Commissioner O'Mara.
Yes.
Vice Chair Pollock.
Yes.
Vice Chair Spivak.
Yes.
And Chair Routh.
Yes.
The amendment passes with 7 votes.
4.
Okay, and then the final amendment package. So these were, if you remember, we provided 4 site visits, including all the way up to, I think, February 28th. And so there, in addition to the number of sites that were addressed in testimony, there were a handful that the property owners for site visits we had done did not submit testimony, but we want to make sure that we addressed each of those, and we included that in the April 28th work session memo as well. Of the 12 site visits that were not addressed through testimony, we had recommended relatively minor changes on 7 sites, and we still continue to recommend those.
Anyone like Vice Chair Pollock?
I motion to adopt Amendment Package 4.
Right?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Okay, let's call the roll on package 4.
Vote for package 4. Commissioner Ames.
Aye.
Commissioner Brannan.
Yes.
Commissioner Knowles.
Yes.
Commissioner O'Meara.
Yes.
Vice Chair Pollock.
Yes.
Vice Chair Spivak. And Chair Routh.
Yes.
The amendment passes with 7 votes.
I guess before we vote on the full package, I just wanted to make a note that I just want to be clear that in terms of the information that was provided for all these individual sites, it was building on all of the information that we had already submitted and was available through the map, a map that was showing natural resources, et cetera. So we did not provide any new information as a part of the documentation we provided to you we were looking to give you information to make the decisions and to provide guidance to us on any amendments. And so all that information that was included in those site-specific reviews was existing information that had been available to people for many years.
Thank you. Okay, and here we are at the full package proposal. So what you see is the proposal for us, adopting the Columbia Corridor. If anyone would like to motion this and read basically what is on this slide. Repealing the
Chair
is that
Ralph?
right?
Sorry. Oh,
that
yeah,
fair?
you, absolutely. I just wanted
Okay.
to say, you don't have to read everything on
Okay.
the slide. I think if you just, if someone would be willing to make a motion to simply say that they move to approve the staff's recommendation as outlined in this, on this slide, that would probably be sufficient.
I move to approve the staff proposal as outlined on this slide.
Seconded.
Any broad thoughts, questions before we vote on the full package? Commissioner
Well,
Spivak.
we know that on some of these properties, they're still not totally resolved with the landowner's satisfaction. And I do appreciate the staff's giving us briefing on some of those sites, and that in some situations, if a property owner obtains a wetlands delineation approved by the Department of State Lands, they can change the line. So I appreciate there's backup there. And also, after this goes from the Planning Commission, it goes to City Council when they have the last bite at the apple. So I just wanted to share those opportunities for future discussion on some of these things that are still a little contentious. So thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Spivak.
Actually, I just want to thank the two of you and your team. It's a lot of work to go to each of these sites and to do the inspections, to work with the property owners, and also do that in the context of the regulatory scheme that you're operating under. So I just want to acknowledge that work, and I think you guys did a great job.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yeah, Commissioner Ames.
Just curious, is this the most challenging kind of, detail-oriented plan that you've ever had to work on in your time in the city?
Not for Daniel.
No?
We had
Yeah.
the entire city, the easement map correction project, which was thousands of
Busy.
sites, and was here for, Daniel can speak to it, but over a year at the
A
time.
lot of site visits?
I think we did 700 site visits for that project. So.
Yeah,
All right, never mind.
Not the hardest.
yeah, although challenging, yes, there have been a little bit more difficult sometimes.
Good work.
Thank you.
Unless there are other comments, let us call the roll on the entire proposal.
All right, let's vote on the full package. Commissioner Ames.
Aye.
Commissioner Brannan.
Yes.
Commissioner Knowles.
I
Commissioner O'Meara.
Yes.
Vice Chair Pollock.
Yes.
Vice Chair Spivak.
Yes?
Commissioner Thompson.
Aye.
And Chair Routh.
I love going last because I get to say a few things, which is one, I really want to appreciate what Vice Chair Spivak said. There are some projects that come before us that are broadly felt. I think that this one is deeply felt. and deeply felt by some individuals, and I really appreciate everyone for coming forward for written testimony, oral testimony. I have a feeling that this is by no means the end of this conversation for this, and I really want to appreciate staff for being part of this conversation, for people in the public, and for everyone's attention to a lot of details that have come forward. So, aye.
The full package passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, thank you so much. Now we get to talk about what we want to talk about in the transmittal letter. So as you know, our recommendation along with the package is covered with a transmittal letter where we talk about some of the deeper questions that we struggled with, things that we want to keep in mind, any future work that we would urge the city council to consider. And I'm happy, I don't know if we want to do popcorn or go around a room. If anyone has specific thoughts. I'll start just to get us off the blank page. I appreciate the spirit to me of this project has been recognizing that tension and trying to find that balance among individual uses of land near our river ecosystem and the broader importance of the river as an ecosystem that does not stop at the water's edge.
I want to appreciate the consideration of the mobile home parks and the criticality of preservation of those communities for affordable housing, and also the consideration of the communities that live on the water. We heard testimony that represented a lot of concerns, and I feel as this progressed that the staff did a really great job addressing those concerns and making it clear that upkeep, maintenance, upgrades, et cetera, to those communities would still be allowed to continue. So I appreciate that.
I think it's inevitably very hard to apply this very linear map-based regulatory strategy when environmental issues like tree canopy, wetlands are mushy and are just like complicated, and they don't follow the analytic rules that like streets and buildings do. So I think that's the inevitable challenge of this project, is to try and, which I think staff's done a great job of, is to try and provide consistent treatment, even in a situation where what's on the ground is really it's biological stuff. I mean, it doesn't adhere to like the clear zoning world that we've created in our city areas. But we still want to have, but we need to have this level of protection to make sure we still have those natural areas protected, even though they're not clearly defined sometimes.
I heard you say that mapping God's work is a tricky enterprise. Anyone else? Okay. Jeff, Daniel, thank you both so much. May you sleep well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, we are 12 minutes early. And I wish that Tom were here to see it, but he is not, for the economic opportunities analysis. But luckily, our joy is that Corinne Sacedo from staff is willing to come up and guide us through this project. And as he's coming up, are there any disclosures that anyone has on the economic opportunities analysis? In some ways, I feel like we all do and none of us do. Okay. All right, and for here we have 6 amendments that we're looking for. Kevin, thank you so much.
Oh, it was already on. Off. Thank you. I will share. My name is Corinne Cicedo. I'm the Senior Economic Planner with the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability. Unfortunately, Tom Armstrong, Supervising Planner, is a little under the weather, so he could not make it today. In his honor, I did bring a Diet Coke, so he's, appreciate that, hopefully. So for today, we're going to follow a similar structure to what you just went through with the CCIL. We'll do a quick review of some past work sessions, and then we'll get into the amendment package. I believe we'll vote on those individually, and then we'll vote on the full package at the end, and similarly, transmit a letter discussion. As a reminder, this is the proposed recommendations that are going to City Council. So we will be repealing the 2016 Economic Opportunities Analysis and then adopting the new 2026 Economic Opportunities Analysis with the supporting appendices, and then amending the 2035 Comprehensive Plan to update the 2016 EOA references with the 2026 references, and then repealing the employment portions of the 2015 Buildable Lands Inventory, and we'll refer to that as the PLI, and adopting the 2026 Buildable Lands Inventory. I believe you all got a memo with the amendments, but we'll go over them individually. But first, discussion on some of the things we've talked about, and again, appreciate not only the input that you all have provided in this process, but everyone who came out to the hearing and everyone who's provided testimony. I think it really pushed us to do some deeper analysis and really explore some of these topics and flesh out what we should be really getting right when it comes to how much land the city has and how much land we're going to need. So specifically what we discussed here with you all in the last couple of work sessions, main focus really was that what's the land demand, and particularly the industrial land demand and the supply that we have. And with that, we really reviewed the job density assumptions. So if there is job increases, how much land those specific jobs take up, and how does that impact our supply? The small sites, should we include sites that are below 3 acres? Steep slopes, we did a lot of additional analysis into whether 10% versus 25% slopes are relevant when it comes to developing industrial sites. And then we also updated our land supply totals related to the CCIL. And as you were just discussing, the changes to the land supply based on some of those smaller adjustments to the acreage. We also tried to go back and look into the MILA study, the Marine Industrial Land Analysis. This was a study undertaken in 2021 that looked at the value of our harbor lands and some of the methodology that was used in that study to project out the range of outcomes. We also talked about the community livability scenarios. This was part of our analysis originally into whether in the future any buffers would be contemplated related to proximity of residential areas to industrial areas. Then most recently, we talked about the comp plan text adjustments, and I think we had a good conversation last time around some of the citywide strategy discussions. So not just focusing on industrial areas, but looking at home-based businesses and central city. So that's, I think, most of the main topics we've talked about.
Chair Ralph, sorry, just wanted to remind the commission that along with the memo that was sent to the commission were the updated documents. So hopefully everyone had a chance to look at actually how these changes that we're about to look at reverberated in the document. You will have seen, particularly I wanted to note, as it relates to number 2 on this slide, the marine industrial land analysis and the expanded narrative that was included in the document as a result of that. So I just wanted to point out some of those things. And also the way in which those comp plan text adjustments are reflected in the document.
So with that, I believe we,
Sorry, can someone forward this to me? I'm not finding it. Thanks.
and we can talk, I think, individually on these amendments, but I don't think there's anything that's surprising, yeah. The first amendment is the main adjustments to the primary EOA document. So we're talking about actually adjusting the steep slope constraint from 25% to 10%. We're also going to reflect some of the recommendations that came out of the CCIL. That's mostly related to just the land supply question. We added a narrative describing some of the Portland Harbor and kind of trying to elaborate more on the value that it provides. There was also a note looking at how, while we did update the overall land supply and demand, we did not specifically go back and rerun all of the scenarios of every option. And then we updated, obviously, all the tables and charts to do kind of a final land supply based on some of these changes. And then we revised the strategies, including some of the suggestions brought up here last time. Any questions related to the amendments to the main EOA document?
Okay. If there are no questions, would anyone like to propose Amendment 1?
I move to adopt Amendment 1.
Okay. Anyone like to second?
Second.
Great. Any discussion or other questions? It sounds like there was transmittal. You're okay? Okay. It is important that everyone feel that they can make an informed decision. Okay. Let's call the roll.
This is the vote for EOA Amendment 1. Commissioner Ames.
Aye.
Commissioner Brannan.
No.
Commissioner Knowles.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Meara.
Yes.
Vice Chair Pollock.
Yes.
Vice Chair Spivak.
Yes?
Commissioner Thompson.
Aye.
And Chair Routh.
Aye.
The amendment passes with 7 votes.
All right.
All right. Second amendment, and the next couple amendments will be around the appendices. This specific one is around the BLI, the buildable lands inventory. We again adjusted that steep slope constraint from 25% to 10%. We also incorporated some of the adjustments that happened in the CCIL. And we clarified how the methodology around utilizing those small sites in the total land supply.
Questions, thoughts?
I'll move Amendment 2.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Polk? Discussion? This feels, I will say, like, after, 6 months of working on this pretty, I was like, it's strange not to have, I feel like we've spent all of our questions, but it feels strange. I just wanted to voice. Okay, well then let's call the roll on Amendment 2.
So the vote for Amendment 2 on the EOA, Commissioner Ames,
Aye.
Commissioner Brannan,
No.
Commissioner Knowles,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Meara,
Yes.
Vice Chair Pollock,
Yes.
Vice Chair Spivak,
Yes?
Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Chair Routh.
Yes.
The amendment passes with 7 votes.
Okay, on to 3.
Great. Amendment 3 is just an update to the outreach summary to incorporate the planning commission process and what we heard from folks who came here and voiced their concerns and interests. So that's just updating that appendix.
I move to approve Amendment 3.
Second?
Any questions, thoughts? Discussion? Okay, let's call the roll.
This is a vote for Amendment 3, Commissioner Ames,
Aye.
Commissioner Brannan,
Yes.
Commissioner Knowles,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Meara,
Yes.
Vice Chair Pollock,
Yes.
Vice Chair Spivak,
Yes?
Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
and Chair Routh.
Aye.
The amendment passes with 8 votes.
Great. And the amendment number 4 is related to the scenarios analysis, and it's just to add a note explaining that the scenarios were not updated in all of the ways that we ran them originally.
Right.
I motion to approve Amendment 4.
Second.
Great. Ames second. Any discussion? Okay. Let's call the roll. Oh, yes, question, please.
Yeah, question. So will this, between now and city council, will there be updates, or is the idea that you're just not going to update that analysis?
I can jump in really quickly, and Corinne, you can correct me. Patricia Diefenhofer for the record. There's no plan to update the scenarios. The scenarios were obviously used to inform the process. Their value is in their comparative, value. And so now that we have landed on a alternative or scenario, we are not going to update because frankly, it takes a lot of staff resources to update all those scenarios because there were so many. I can't even tell you how many model runs there were done, but maybe Corinne can. But so we're going to try to conserve those resources and only do that if absolutely needed.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. No additional comments.
Any other questions? Thank you very much, Vice Chair Spivak. Okay, let's call the roll.
So the vote for EOA Amendment 4, Commissioner Ames,
Aye.
Commissioner Brannan,
No.
Commissioner Knowles,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Meara,
Yes.
Vice Chair Pollock,
Yes.
Vice Chair Spivak,
Yes?
Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
and Chair Routh.
Aye.
The amendment passes with 7 votes.
On to Amendment 5.
And Amendment 5 is just related to the comprehensive plan edits. So we added an appendix to just clarify exactly what would be changing in the comprehensive plan.
Okay. I'll propose this one.
Second?
Any discussion? Questions, comments? Okay, let us call the roll. Thank you, Autumn.
Amendment 5, Commissioner Ames,
Aye.
Commissioner Brannan,
No.
Commissioner Knowles,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Meara,
Yes.
Vice Chair Pollock,
Yes.
Vice Chair Spivak,
Yes?
Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Chair Routh.
Yes.
The amendment passes with 7 votes.
6 and final.
Yes, the final amendment is just to revise all of the documents to edit out the proposed draft and discussion draft comments. So just simple text edits.
Okay. Is there anyone who has not yet proposed an amendment who would like to do so? Yes?
I'll move the final Amendment 6.
And I will second the final Amendment 6.
Thank you very much. Let's just call the roll.
Commissioner Ames,
Aye.
Commissioner Brannan,
Yes.
Commissioner Knowles,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Meara,
Yes.
Vice Chair Pollak,
Yes.
Vice Chair Spivak,
Yes?
Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
Chair Routh.
Aye.
The amendment passes with 8 votes.
Great. Those were all the amendments. As a reminder, these are the proposed recommendations of Rowan City Council. Again, that we're repealing and replacing the 2016 EOA with the 2026 EOA and the appendices. And the comp plan will be amended to be updated using these updated numbers. And then the same with the 2015 buildable lands inventory will be updated and adopted with the 2026 buildable lands inventory.
Questions or thoughts before I invite someone to propose? Okay, would someone like to propose?
I move that we recommend the proposed recommendation as presented on this slide by staff.
Seconded.
Ooh, discussion? Yeah.
Yeah,
Commissioner
just
Moss.
one thing. Probably nobody noticed, but I was gone the last couple of meetings. And so I was sorry to miss the heart of this project because it was one that I really cared about. But I appreciate that some of the amendments moved a little closer to what I was hoping to see. So I support it. And I'll have a couple of things I want to see incorporated into the transmittal letter.
I have a feeling it's going to be quite a transmittal letter. Thank you. Other thoughts? Were we? Okay. Okay. Yeah, Mr. Brennan. Okay. And also I will say, especially since this is such a significant, I mean, they're all significant projects, but if you would like to share anything about anything behind your vote, please know we have time and we care about your thoughts behind it, independent of whether you want that in a transmittal letter. Okay, please.
This is the vote on the full EOA package. Commissioner Ames,
Aye.
Commissioner Brannan,
No.
Commissioner Knowles,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Meara,
Yes.
Vice Chair Pollak,
Yes.
Vice Chair Spivak,
Yes?
Commissioner Thompson,
Aye.
and Chair Routh.
Yes.
The package passes with 7 votes.
Okay. Ooh. Transmittal letter. I have a lot of thoughts. Please, Commissioner Brennan.
This is another one where we've received a lot of public comment. And while we got a little closer to what the community was asking, we didn't get there all the way. And so I kind of knew this would be a unanimous across y'all, but I didn't feel comfortable voting in favor of it because it wasn't addressing what community was asking. I didn't like the scenarios that were proposed. I think there's some strange assumptions about land use and the future of workforce. So I didn't feel comfortable supporting that. And I know a lot of community and the testimony that read many, many letters on this, and some were in favor. So, I mean, it's a mixed bag. You can't make everybody happy on this, but I wanted to acknowledge both sides in our transmittal letter, and that we heard and made a decision based on that, that it was informed But I did notice there wasn't a ton of change from when we first heard public comment to where we are now, so. That's why I voted no. Also, the impact of that vote, unfortunately, isn't huge, but at least I was there to represent the various communities who were supported.
Thank you. If to piggyback on that a little, I think one thing that I've been holding a serious tension around phrases that keep coming up, such as economic recovery, as if we will ever go back to 2019. That I think that, and this is part of a transmittal letter, we have talked about that we will be coming back before us in a few years on this because it was already overdue. But I think we, as a city, as a region, need to massively take a significant look at what our buildable lands need to look like and what our economic vision for a thriving future looks like. Because I think that a lot of what I'm hearing in what Commissioner Brannan just said, and I don't know, please check me if I'm incorrect, Commissioner Brannan, but that so many of the assumptions are just not where we are anymore. And that, so I almost feel like this is a bridge. I'm really glad that it's not unanimous. I don't think it should be. And I think that our work as a city and as a region is just beginning.
Okay.
Please.
Well, it'll be interesting to draft this letter because I'm not sure where I fall in this spectrum, but the way, I looked at this is I think these industrial lands are really important. I think the character and the number of those jobs is important. And these employment opportunities, employment lands have a connection to our revenues, both property tax revenues and income tax revenues. So I think it's important to preserve them and I don't know if this isn't the Planning Bureau's job, but to have strategies that remove some of the constraints, cleaning up the harbor, for example, from using some of these lands. And then the other notion that I think would be worth conveying to council is that should be part of a regional discussion about how our industrial lands and our economic job-producing lands are used, and that impacts all of us in the region. It has an impact on the urban growth boundary potentially. So there are some trade-offs certainly from what we do here. It impacts what happens in Washington County and Clackamas County.
Thank you. Thoughts? Yeah, Mr. Spivak.
Thanks. I will totally support looking for. I like the opportunity of using this project to push Metro to take a regional approach for economic and industrial area planning in the future. And I share the frustration with a lot of testimony we received that Portland is too small of a region, too small of a place, right, to have to meet our own industrial goals every time we do this project. So I think that I'm not sure where the pressure can be applied so that this becomes a regional discussion. And I think that we have too many eggs in a fragile and geographically narrow basket right now in Portland. When the Cascadia earthquake comes, it's going to decimate things in the liquefaction zone, and we have a lot of that in our city, with a lot of services that really benefit the whole state of Oregon located there. And that's an economic problem for us. So I think, although I appreciate that this project is optimistically forward-looking, with frankly some projections I think are very optimistic, I think there should be a piece of this to be on the defense, like figuring out how to save ourselves when the earthquake happens. Good chance in the next 50 years we're not ready for it, and our economy will be hit severely when it does. So I think it's good to play some defense. I think for the follow-up projects, because this is all about what happens next, I hope that we will focus on activating and reimagining the waterfront. I'd like to highlight that one. And also revamping home-based business zoning to make it easier, because people are already doing it, but the code has not responded, to have jobs scattered across our residential areas as well. And also, I think we should talk about the buffer, because that's another follow-up project where I believe we've left some land, we projected some land use, some loss of industrial zone to achieve a strong buffer between residential and industrial uses. If I'm remembering that correctly, then we should maybe talk about that in our letter as a way to provide the buffer. So that we continue to have industrial good jobs and respect the communities that are not too far away.
Thank you. Thoughts?
Yeah, Commissioner O'Mara, for the record, I know we've discussed that this lays the framework for flexibility around land use and economic development, but really the training dollars and the workforce dollars and the programming to create economic opportunity is not part of this package and recommendation. So in the transmittal letter, I think emphasizing that those components are so critical, right, to creating and sustaining economic opportunity. I think that the scenarios did a good job at looking at flexibility. When we talk about our downtown, right, I don't think that we lost sight of our neighborhoods and that there has to be a reasonable balance between neighborhood economic sustainability and opportunity and downtown. But when we look at conversion opportunities, for example, in our office vacancy, the land use, again, that's not enough, right? We have to have the funding and the resources and additional projects that might not be BPS, but I think this has done a really good job at considering the flexibility that is needed on the land use side for many of those initiatives.
Thank you. Others? Commissioner Ames studiously ignoring my gaze. Okay.
Successfully.
Okay. Kryn and Tom's Coke bottle, thank you very much for all of your work. It's been years. And likewise, I hope you sleep well.
Thank you, and obviously all the other staff that worked on this.
Yes. Thank you. Okay. Any other thoughts, questions? I actually want to take a moment of personal privilege. One thing that I think happens as a result of having so many wonderful and committed community members, community organizers in our midst is that when we lose one, it is felt by entire communities. And I want to acknowledge the passing of Cale Turn late last week. He was a community organizer through Apano's P-PACE program. He was a board member of APICO. He was 49 years old. And last Thursday night was Apano's annual celebration of their work. And a lot of Cale's work in supporting immigrant communities throughout the region, but particularly in East County, was on prominent display. And later that day, he had a heart attack and passed away suddenly. And I just want to appreciate the work that people who are not necessarily, do not have a title, are not elected, and work every day to help knit our communities together in hope, and that we are messy and there are so many threats on some of our communities, in particularly our immigrant communities, and to have lost such a phenomenal human being is something that it's unquantifiable what we have lost, and every time we lose someone, it is felt deeply. And I just want to appreciate him, and I want to appreciate everyone who has worked alongside him. Thank you. I promise I don't cry on every planning commission, just every other one, apparently. And if no one else has anything else on that, we are adjourned.